They just.
Yeah, and I don't think they're gonna bring it up to confirm. So that's, yeah, you need separate. No, that's already made. Yeah, I did. Good there.
It's a really nice title, the finance director.
Yeah, that's good.
I just love it.
Yeah, okay. Yep, that works. Okay. Danny, you good? Yep. We're good, Mayor.
Go ahead and call meeting to order. Kelly, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Present.
District 3, Councilman Lethem is excused. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Fernando, can you lead us with the invocation?
Yes, before I start, I would just like to make a quick announcement. Global Police Officer Jeffrey Overton was involved in a serious car accident on Monday between Cooper and Payson. Officer Overton was on his way to some off-duty employment when his car was struck by another car traveling in the opposite direction. Officer Overton received serious injuries to his left side of his body that included several broken bones and eye socket. Officer Overton has some serious some surgeries and will have more required. So, however, by the grace of God, his girlfriend, it sounds like, was also in the vehicle, but thank God she was not seriously injured. So, I want to add them to our prayers. Dear Lord, thank you that we could be gathered here today to represent this community. Please help us to make good decisions that will further our community and benefit all the people of our community. Thank you for all those who dedicate their time and energy to make this a better place to live. And please be with Officer Overton. My understanding is that the other gentleman in the other vehicle did not make it. So be with his family, help comfort them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Ready, can we?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll go to Senator Mariano. We'll start with you now.
Yes, I wanted to mention that I attended the watershed planning seminar last week in Scottsdale. And present were many entities, but I particularly want to compliment our water staff. They had filled out a survey, which was an eye opener. And throughout the 2.5 days of that seminar, they were very up on the subject of the city's entire water infrastructure. And so I felt that we were well prepared going into that meeting. And I learned a lot at that meeting about our region's water infrastructure, not just the city of Globe. So I just wanted to compliment all of our city staff for their participation. They really looked sharp and they made me look like I knew what I was talking about. My compliments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Fernando.
So I have to learn how to say no. I try to hear all the time, and when I need it to come out, it doesn't. So one of the other hats that I wear is I'm on the governing board for the community college, and but we had celebrated our 25th years as a provisional college. So I went to Payson, and they have an electron microscope. They have a astronomy class, and we have like this guy who's like one of the best known astronomers in the world, is one of our instructors. He's bringing aviation simulators. We have the #1 nursing program in the country, and all at our little community college. Then the following week, I was here for ours here in Villa Pueblo, and some of the stuff that they're doing there with their hygiene, dental hygiene classes. They have cosmetology, so it was really great to see how many students were participating, how well they're doing. So just grateful to have them and grateful for what they've accomplished. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Brendan. Brendan?
Thank you, Mayor. I really don't have a whole lot to say other than a pretty terrific, or I'll call it horrific because it happened right in front of me. It was a bad vehicle accident, US 60 across from Fry's. I understand some people were seriously injured. But more than that, if you notice along there's been barricades along the side of the road for quite some time. I'm also working on a project, joint project with a contractor that involves my company, putting in sidewalk along Main Street and Golden Hill. So just be aware of all the construction that's going on throughout the city. There's a lot of it going on, not only in Globe and Central Heights, the county area, but in Miami as well. So just be vigilant. People are getting out. There's a lot of traffic coming through town. Unfortunately, people want to get somewhere real quick, so they think speeding through Globe is the way to get there. And some really terrible things happening. Just as hometowners, just be vigilant about our surroundings and all the construction that's going on. And again, my hats off to all the first responders, because I know they're probably right now with a lot of the things that are going on. So just be vigilant of your surroundings. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Freddie. Mike?
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing today.
Mike?
Mike, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I want to welcome everybody. It's great to see a large crowd today, and I see some of our Citizens Academy participants here also. Welcome as part of your assignment for the 7-week course. But we welcome you, and you get something out of this also. I know we started it up last week, and it was exciting. You have your next one tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. I got a few things. I wanted Senate Bill 1117 died on the floor yesterday, which had to do with zoning, and it kind of would hurt. It wouldn't hurt small cities because it had to do with cities less than 30,000, so it wouldn't affect us, but it would other ones. But there's no town that they would inject that into smaller cities too. So that died on the floor. I assume they got 14 days to bring it back. If they choose so. It just seems that this round of legislation, and I've only been following a couple of years or since I've been in, but it seems that state leaders are trying to impose more bills to really dictate what small cities do or other cities across the state. This is the worst year that I've seen where state leaders are really trying to impose, from how you operate in your city, how you generate revenue. So it's important that if it's something that we oppose, that we need to really get a hold of our state legislators and voice our opinions to them, not only as council, but you as residents also. The food tax bill is still hanging around. It could go to the floor sometime this week. We just got to stay on top of it, because if it passes the Senate, then it goes to the governor, and she can either veto it or sign it. So we just need to keep our ears open for these types of things that affect our small rural community, especially Globe. So just keep up with what's happening in the legislature. Hopefully that bill will also die. We are planning leaving the 25th this month. We're going to Washington, D.C. for the National League of Cities. There are a couple of us in the council. And this is the first time ever that the city of Globe has done that. We have gone to League of Cities, that represents all of Arizona, but now we get to go to Washington and be able to participate with the National League of Cities. We also get to meet with all our senators and congressmen while we're there, which is amazing. It'll be, you know, with everything, our lobbyists has really been a positive thing for our city. The millions of dollars that come back to our community, especially with the infrastructure money. I mean, there's so much infrastructure money out there right now. We've got to be ready to take it. We've got to be ready to go after it, get it. And like Paul announced last council meeting, I think we got close to $5 million in infrastructure money.
I think right now we're at three, two in infrastructure and then some various projects. So I would say a safe estimate at this point, 3.
3 million.
Yeah.
So, and just
in the past
I mean,
moments.
there's so much out there. So it's great that we're going to go there. And like I said, it's the first time we've ever done it. On April 1st, we have the East Valley Firefighter Bike Run that'll be in conjunction with the Drift In. These are the Mesa Firefighters United, and I think our local firefighters also here participate in that run. It's a benefit to raise money for the firefighter. I think it's a 100 club and helping firefighters and police officers. I think that is all I have.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, there's so much going on. We're getting ready for our budget cycle, but I will tell you that at the staff level, we are looking to answer the Globe question, answer to the big picture items. Workforce housing is on our radar, and we're working lots of angles. We're going to be coming to council very soon with more information on our water sustainability, what we have, and what we can do to firm that up and secure that for the future. Also, just adjusting to the post-pandemic world. All three of those are questions and problems facing all of Arizona, all of the nation, and we too here at the staff level addressing those. Also, kudos to council for your heavy lifting in many of these items at the legislature. Texting and making contact, taking trips down to the state, and for what you're about to embark on with this trip to Washington, D.C. Again, first time trip. We for 3 years, we've had a federal lobbyist working in this environment, working to bring that federal money that we pay in taxes back to Globe, Arizona. And we've been successful in that. We've also brought on a very high level grant writer with lots of federal experience, because unlike the state, when the federal government gives you money, you have to go through all the process of a grant to make sure that's right. And so it's not just here's a check; you still have to do the application. And I will tell you that the federal government responds to squeaky wheels. And if this council is a right time to go and go to their hometown, go to their doorstep and talk to them about what we have going on in the partnership, say the thank yous for what they've done for us and what we can do in the future. And that is how you return money to your community. We've reached that point, that level of sophistication, that level in our economic situation that this is leveraging the money we spend to do this outreach that is paying dividends tenfold. And so we're excited about this first ever trip. Mayor, members, council, that's all I have.
Thank you, Paul. I did have one more thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I did want to commend Chief Walden and his staff for, I know there's some mixed feelings in the community about all the traffic stops that are taking place within the city limits. But I'll tell you what, if you look at our history and you look at this stretch, there's a lot of traffic there. We've had 8 fatalities in the last 2 years on this highway. And Brady touched on it, another major accident again here today. I mean, for people speeding through the town, people talking on their cell phone when they're driving, we just need to wake up and be careful and more alert of how we're driving. I commend the police department for taking a positive approach to try and cut down the number of accidents. I mean, it's even generated the transport of some drugs to our community also is one of the stops. So, it's important. Police and fire deal with this on a regular basis. We need to support what they're doing at this point. Thank you.
Yeah.
So first we have a public hearing, liquor license. Item 2A, consideration to approve a Series 9 liquor license for Calsa Oil LLC DBA Star K number 2398 for Marathon Gas and Convenience Store located at 2398 East Highway 60, Globe, Arizona. So we'll go ahead and hear from staff and then we'll open the meeting.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Calsa Oil has filed an application for the new Marathon store located right next to the Walmart. The posting has been posted for the required 20 days. The clerk's office has heard no opposition. We're here tonight to present this to council for their consideration for approval.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just for reference, as the former AM/PM gas station, it is, my understanding, the same owner,
Yes.
but a different franchise that he's operating under, and ergo, changing in the liquor license. So.
Yeah, this is more than, this is a Series 9 liquor license, so it's beer, wine, and liquor, and I think that's why they had to
Okay.
apply for a new application, new license.
Did the old owner have a Series 9 also?
I think it was just beer and wine. Mhm.
And they meet the distance requirements for the high school?
Yeah, we researched that from as per the liquor code, from at least from the edge of the building of the gas station to the closest building of the high school is about the minimum it has to be more than 300 feet, and so building to building 925 feet, building to just the property of the high school, the fence area where kids it's a high school, so there's really no playground area. Their kids are in the parking lot and everything like that, is 424 feet. So in scenarios, they are beyond the 300-foot requirement.
Maybe just a technical question, because this is a Series 9. Does that change any of the footage requirement?
No,
Based
I
on the previous owner.
I looked at the types that are exempt from this, and it's restaurants, and I have it here. Let me see if I can tell you which ones are. It told us which ones were. Let's see, liquor forms. Okay, there are certain ones are exempt. Give me a second. Okay, so it is 300-foot requirement to all liquor types except for restaurants, which are 12, special events, which are 15, hotel motel with restaurant, which is an 11, and government, which is a 5. So those are the ones that don't have the 300-foot. So if it was, I can't see that this is previously was any of these that are exempt from that. So I'm assuming that whether it was a 9 or I don't know my numbers, but a beer and wine, it falls in that category of that 300-foot.
Yeah, because we know the previous owner had a liquor license.
Yeah.
Which is saying-
I just
and
want to
this-
know that the Series 9 doesn't change anything.
Yeah, no,
If it
and
doesn't, then,
no, these are very clearly laid out, at least at restaurants, government. I didn't know government's got a liquor license, but yes, to check into that. But hotel, motel, and special events.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any other staff presentation?
No, no, and I don't see anybody approaching from the audience, or we've had no communication.
No.
No, and staff recommends approval, but it's council's prerogative on this one.
So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for public comment. At this time, if there's anybody from the public, online, email or text that wishes to speak on this subject.
Let us pull up the. See if we see.
Nothing via text, Mr.
No.
Mayor.
Nothing from phone or email. Okay.
So at this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And then that'll come up later in the agenda.
No, we're asking for council to consider that during this item, so,
During this item.
Yes.
So motion and second.
yes.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no comments from the public, pro or con, the motion that we approve the Series 9 liquor license for the Marathon Gas convenience store located at 2398 East Highway 60, Miami.
Second. Motion and second for approval of the Series 9 license.
And Mr. Mayor, before we go on this, so the station is located physically in the city of Globe. The mailing address is a Miami post office box. Just so people are wondering why we're approving something in Miami. Physical address is Globe. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we have so many residents, even residents have a Miami address. And I don't know how we can cure that or how we can bring it back
Yeah.
to, well, I mean, because people are confused. They have a home residence that says Miami, Arizona, and has a 85539 zip code.
Yeah.
Even Cal Ranch has a Miami address.
And actually it's on our list of people to go visit in DC, the post office people.
Okay.
So.
We thought this bottle advertising.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you. Departmental highlights?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is something we do periodically, just to point out some of the stuff going on. I would think the theme that I'd like to share the past month is partnerships between departments and helping out between departments. As you recall, we had the Mexican consulate set up passports and stuff at Active Adult Center, and we were having some the IT issues because it's not managed internally. It's an outside source, and so library Rael brought a couple of hotspots down and rescued the whole shebang. And it was a big turnout. I never saw the numbers, but I know there were over a dozen people waiting there at 8 o'clock to get in and use those services. Also, Public Works working with IT and getting the CBS building. We finally have finance moved over to Public Works. They were very, and with finance and moving the offices, some of the furniture, a lot of the files. And then just recently, we're trying to get some IT stuff adjusted and some improvements. And our facility person, Angel Perez, was down with Danny today, and they had success in setting up a microwave point-to-point that they're gonna finalize tomorrow. And that was kind of a last-minute thing, but it's very important. And so again, partnerships between departments. Fire and police are always partnering in these horrific events that they have to take care of. Both of them on the scenes of all these accidents is tough on our staff, and we recognize that and take actions that we need to. So that partnership, and then a new partnership you probably haven't heard of. We now have every 2 weeks we have an imminent hazard meeting, and this is a group set up by Development Service that includes code, building, zoning, fire, police, fire marshal, and even APS is in this, just to make sure that we're on top of any type of issues that need to be addressed, that need to go through an enhanced process and basically looking at that public safety aspect of facilities and structures and activities in the city of Globe. So that's something that has been, if you want to see a meeting where we're trying to figure out the right thing to do. It takes that brain trust to come and from there we take action and are seeing results. So again, all of these are examples of different departments working together with each other to make things happen and move forward the momentum of the city. So that's my department update.
Thank you. Next, we have a first community call to the public. Again, this is a time when anyone can come to the podium and make their comments. We cannot respond to you as a council, but we can direct staff. Time limit is 3. Do you have anybody on text or phone? I do have one speaker card.
Is this so?
So first one, I'll call up Kyle Novak. State your name and address. Just speak right into the mic.
Tap it, make sure it's on.
Test 1, 2. Hello, my name is Kyle Nowak. My address is 8782 South Kellner Canyon Road. I believe I'm in the county. I just wanted to get up to speak and address you all that we have a lot of things for all of the community, maybe, but having had, let me put my thoughts together. So we have a youth center for the youth, and we have the active adult center for the seniors and such. And as a middle adult, as I would like to call myself, I'm finding a lack of things that I can go participate in if I don't go to the bars or out to eat and such. And my degree is in Parks and Recreation Management, and I actually did my internship here with the city over my school time when we had that position. And they were trying at the time to put on a concert or events. And so just speaking to that, I realized that we have events like First Fridays and the Halloween and the UTD Jamboree are all large draws to the community internally and good for like our local culture. But if there were things that might be able to draw from outside of the community to bring people here to spend their money, and if we had an event venue possibly where we could host concerts or have it as a base for races such as bike and foot races and or any type of festival that might go on. Having been and lived in other places, there's all sorts of things. Like we have the Poppy Festival, other places will have their town and communities really involved within changing the seasons and other opportunities. So just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Next, I have Greg Varsness. I said that right?
That's correct. Yeah, Greg Parsons, I just came in here 20 minutes ago. I live on 139 North First Street, so I am a local resident, pay taxes and all that stuff. I used to pastor a church, so I kind of have a heart for people suffering. I do mission trips outside the United States. I think I've done 31. I'll be going to the Philippines in a month, for a month, I'll be there. And, but I can't help but, when I drive down Broad Street and look at the homes, the old train depot and area, and behind that and around it and on the benches, there's homeless people there all the time. And I stop and talk to them, you know, and some of them definitely have an alcohol issue, and you know, they have to help themselves a little bit on that end, and not pursue that and let that be a habit. Some of them are on drugs, I know that, and you know, you can't just baby that kind of a habit or just give into it. But as far as we had some nights here not long ago, it was 22 and 24 degrees, and I went by and saw a lady and didn't have a tarp on her. She had a sleeping bag, and I went to Walmart and got a tarp for her and another sleeping bag, and did the same thing with another guy there. And I got him a heater from my camping gear and cylinders. I think I gave him about 5 cylinders now. Kind of expensive, by the way, those 1 pound cylinders. So I found out you take a 5 pound one, you can refill those. I don't know if it's legal or not. That's what they do. It cost me $1 to refill one, and I keep going back to this one boy there. But I just thought that
Payson, I'm in the Republican club up there, and one night after the meeting, there was a couple there that were stranded, and I could help them a little bit, bought them a meal and stuff, but they didn't have a place to stay. And I called the police up there, and they have a shelter up there in Payson, and we're the county seat here. They have a shelter for them, and so the police came and they ushered them to a place where they could at least. It was really cold up there. Payson's colder up there anyhow, and probably about 10, 15 degrees colder that night. And so they found a place for them. I was thinking, I was here about 5 months ago. I remember you talking about having a home for the homeless. If not a home, at least a shelter. Whatever happened with that? Did you ever vote on that?
On that, we can't respond to you on call to the public, but we can direct staff to get with you and see what your question. As council is called to the public, we can't respond.
Oh, I see. Okay. I know, I guess my proposition is that you do something to help the homeless that are here in some way, at least a shelter. If you make it too comfortable for them, they'll just have 100 people in there, showering, watching TV and this and that, and you can't have that. I got one man on Social Security, he just turned 65, so I come up there, and so he at least gets a little bit of Social Security now, so I help him, but it's not enough to pay for the housing. If you haven't noticed, it's pretty hard to find a place even to rent, and they're all filled, they got waiting lists, even the cheap ones, the cheap hotels and the cheap places to apartments and that, they're filled and they got a long waiting list. So I guess that's my plea here, to do something for them, at least get them out of the cold somewhere, give them a cot or something so they can keep warm at night. So that's all.
And Mr. Mayor, and excuse me, sir, if you can check with Jessica back there, and Jessica, if you can get his contact information, make sure we have it, the phone numbers, and I can follow up with you on that. And Kyle, I can follow up with you. We're going to be talking tomorrow night anyway, and so we can cover those. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, we will follow up with both these sets of concerns. And but I think we can compliment the gentleman for his generosity.
Thanks, we appreciate that, yeah, on both topics.
Yep.
Yeah. Next, we have special presentation and ceremonial matters. Item 5A is introduction of Luis Chavez Flores, new City of Globe engineer, and Lon Beckett, new construction utilities inspector for the engineering department. We have John.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you tonight. As you all know, Mr. Jerry Barnes began taking his retirement leave from us in January. And since then, he's actually leaving us he's still working with staff in the transitional period. And in that transition, since November, we were able to post a position, which we all knew we have our bridge inspections, we need our pool inspections, and we actually have sewer line inspections as a key project for the city of Globe. One of our concerns was actually not utilizing just staff, but actually having professionals on site for that inspection. At that point, we actually posted the position because it was open from previous employee, and we had a candidate come forward, was really overqualified because he was an engineer. We were looking for somebody who had previous experience inspecting, but he's had that experience, and he was coming back in our area and willing to come on board in that manner. Since then, he's actually had the opportunity with the position of Jerry Barnes retiring. That would be Luis Chavez. He's actually an engineer. He actually has over 25 years experience working through many ADOT districts, not just locally. He's actually worked a time or two with Jerry Barnes. I told him I wouldn't really bring that up. But actually one of the, I often found with engineers, there's usually one project that really stands out for them. That's their key signature. Speaking with Luis coming on board, one of the projects was the Gonzalez Pass project, where that was, as you all know, we traveled it, all the difference that was made, safety enhancements, and actually Luis was key point on that project. So he's got over 25 years of experience. He's come on, like I said, and he's working with our current inspector, would be the second position that I introduced tonight. But, you know, he's working with Jerry, the transitional period, and we're getting up to speed, so we're not losing any momentum. That's my biggest concern as the director for public works and for our project, is keeping the momentum. And luckily, we were able to find that qualified employee. So I'd like to bring him up for you this evening, Luis Chavez.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as he said, my name is Luis Chavez. I have experience in construction. I've been an ADOT employee. My first time around in Lowell, I was the senior resident engineer for ADOT, and that's when I had the opportunity to work on this project, you know, the Gonzales Pass, and some other projects around the district. Back in 2015, when I first came here, it was in 2008. In 2015, we moved to the valley because my two daughters were going to ASU, and my daughter, you know, wanted us to be close to them, and my wife from Disney. So we ended up moving to the valley. Now, you know, they got married, they have their own families, and it was just my wife and myself at home, living in Central Valley. So, but we always had this idea of coming back to Lowell, because ever since we first came over, we really got in love with the community, you know, the city, the mountains. You know, it's a different way of living. You know, it's peaceful. Looking back, just last year, we bought a home. I'm paying. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm paying. And you know, and I noticed that there was these opportunities to come to work. And I really appreciate that, you know, I was given the opportunity to start as an inspector. And then when Jerry Barnes, you know, announced his retirement, I applied for my engineering position. Sometimes it's really not good to talk about yourself and try to do good. But I'm a civil engineer. I'm registered as a professional engineer in the state of Arizona. I have a master's in business administration, and I'm also a certified project manager in the state of Arizona. So I'm really happy that I'm given the opportunity to come to work for city. I have met a lot of great people, and they're good to work with. And all I can say is that I'm here to do my best to keep growing and to make it a good place to live for future generations. Thank you.
Go ahead, Larry. If I could interject, I had the privilege of working with Luis last week at the watershed planning seminars, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And every time I go off on a tangent, he reel me in and keep me on the subject of planning that we were trying to implement, and the study and information that came out had already complimented the city staff. But really, from an engineering perspective, he knew what he was talking about as far as our water infrastructure is concerned. There was nothing there in the information presented that fazed him. And we had a very practical approach in the civil engineering side of what we have and what the future looks like. And it's very grateful for that expertise. So once again, Paul, you made a great decision. So did you, John. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Welcome to our team.
I can tell that. He's got one heck of a karaoke machine in his whole family.
No.
All right.
Those other skills as duties as required. So.
Mayor and council, I'd like to bring up the second employee that actually filled Luis's position once he moved over to our engineering department. It would be Lon Beckett, actually we know him as Kenny. But he's actually started February 14th. Once again, we didn't want to lose any momentum. And we put a posting out there and we're able, me and Paul kind of went through applications and look, what most, a lot of the times, most recently, it's hard to find employees to fill these positions, especially when they're that critical. Luckily, once again, we found another employee that actually moved back to the area that moved out many years ago. And he's been working construction sites and even went as far as Wyoming as a foreman for a construction company. He's done sampling, core sampling, work construction, operated equipment. And usually when I'm looking for employees, I'd like the hands-on because we know that field work is key. I always tease Jerry Barnes about book work, but literally there's two parts of that equation: the technical side of it and what you're looking for. He's been doing reports for us with the pool daily, and also working with Jerry and our other Starbreak Powers and engineers daily, also doing the inspection work on our bridge. So I'd like to bring him up for a moment. He's also got 25 years experience working in construction. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Really happy for this opportunity. I think this is going to be a great experience for myself. Everybody I've worked with so far is great. Looking forward to being able to help better the community I grew up in. So, just want to thank you very much for this opportunity again.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Next, we have introduction of Tina Allen, financial consultant, assistant, City of Globe, with the preparation and passage of fiscal year 2023-2024 financial budget.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, as we approved the contract, I think last meeting, we brought on some key members to help us through this budget cycle through Pat Walker. But I'd like to invite Tina Allen up to introduce herself and a little bit about she representing the group here. So Tina, come on down.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me here this evening, although I think I'd like John to introduce me. He really does a good job of that, but he doesn't know me well. So I have to talk about myself. So I'm here representing Pat Walker Consulting, who's worked with you closely over the past several years, and I'm really grateful to be working for her and with you and with your city manager. And Eli Jewin is a member of our team. I'm not sure you've had the opportunity to meet him yet, who recently retired from Winslow as their finance director, and he'll be driving into Globe any moment now, and spending each week Wednesday through Friday here. And his role will be preparing for your 21-22 fiscal audit and evaluating your 22-23 current actuals. And I will be on site as needed for meetings and presentations, and more often working remotely, as I live in Phoenix, but with a Scottsdale. Also, don't think I'm from Scottsdale. Our goal as a team is to help you articulate your vision and achieve your goals through a clear and working budget that also helps you assess your accomplishments through solid and accurate and auditable financial reports. Tell you what you're going to do, tell you that you did it. So those are the nice things. Paul asked me to give a little information about myself. I retired about 4.5 years ago after 31 years with Maricopa County, which is a wonderful organization. It gave me a lot of great opportunities. If I say county instead of city, I apologize. It's going to be a really tough habit to break. I began there with the clerk of the court's office and moved on to the Office of Court Appointed Counsel, where I hired contract attorneys, investigators, and really tracking the development budgets. After many years with the court system, I was paroled, and I became the administrator for the Maricopa County Recreation Department, where I spent 9 years. At that point, I was still establishing budgets, but it included the enterprise fund, the grant funds, the capital improvement funds, a lot more human resources, many more contracts. Probably my highlight was I was there when they developed the Scorpion Bay at Lake Pleasant. So I was able to work with the planning and development, city of Peoria, the vendor, everybody to write that contract and watch that marina get built. From that point, I was tapped by the county's central budget office. I became their capital project administrator, provided oversight when they built their $325 million criminal court tower downtown, Budget office was a little concerned about how that was being spent and wanted to bring their own person in to kind of watch that budget. And then as mayor, I worked on the sheriff's building, my one center. And then as the CIP project slowed down, I went over to become just the county's budget administrator. So I spent the last years at the county consolidating the county's budget, tracking departmental capital spending, preparing annual budget documents, which is like 1,100 pages for me. So I'm very much enjoying what I'm learning about Globe. I want to say the intimate nature of municipal government is so different than the behemoth that is in Maricopa County. It presents its challenges, but I've really met nothing but really good dedicated people so far. Luann, who comes to the meetings, look at that. They're interested in seeing the city grow and develop and make good things happen. So thank you for this opportunity. I'll be meeting with work groups, your staff, your directors, if you learn more about for 23, 24.
Tina, thank you.
No problem.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, so Luann and Fawn are on staff members that are in the finance, and then Tina and Eli are putting together the budget and the audits, and then we'll be regrouping as we get past that milestone. But right now we have a really good team in place, and kudos to Pam Leonard, our HR person, who is kind of point person on making all these pieces put together. But I really can say, and I'll to you now, we are in good hands, and looking forward to the budget process. And kudos to Pat Walker, who loves us and takes care of us. So.
Next, we have the consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may also remove any item for separate consideration. We have item A, consideration of a waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $1,505,815.69. Consideration of approval of council minutes, January 24, 2023 meeting minutes. And consideration to approve a letter of agreement between the City of Globe by and through Beshpagal Archaeological Park and Museum and the Act One Culture Pass program, a partnership with Arizona Library for program passes. Do we have anybody from the public, from the staff, or council wishing to remove any of these items?
Mr. Mayor, no, we do not.
I'd like to remove accounts payable for questions.
Mr. Mayor, for no other comments or questions, I motion that we remove accounts payable items and accept the agenda as read.
Second.
Motion second for approval of consent agenda minus item 6A1. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Just wanted to bring it to light because our accounts payable is almost double or over double this budget with $1.5 million in 2 weeks. I wasn't in town being able to look over what we had, but I think if you look at some of the items, I think we have like Meridian. I think it was another one.
Apache Underground,
We have
yes.
big items that we paid for construction.
Right, and these are large lump sums. The Apache Underground is the sewer project going out to the Boys and Girls Club that we've already funded and making headway on that. I think the worst of the closures are over on that one. And then Meridian Engineering is our bridge contractors, and I think that's the first initial payment. You'll see we have up to $5 million to distribute through Meridian Engineering, and so that will inflate that number over the next 9 months. You know, so but no, that's the money being put to work.
Thank you. Yeah, that was just for transparency purposes. Residents had a question on why the accounts payable was so high this time, but there's a lot of projects going on. I appreciate that information.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, members of council, would you like to see the construction broken out from other spending for comparison, or are we happy with the way the council staff is presenting
I
this?
think it's self-explanatory. I mean, we got a lot of projects on
Yeah,
the table.
yeah.
They're all costing money, and the money's there.
Yeah.
It's just that we're gonna be doing it in increments. People, we can always let them know what we need.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think it's important that our community knows that these high dollar items, they're budgeted items, they're monies that have been secured, it's not coming out of the general fund. I think it's important that, everybody knows that, we're really staying on top of this, our staff is staying on top of it, and just being really good stewards of the communities first, so. I think it's good to put that out there.
Okay.
You have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, there's no further concerns. I would make a motion to approve consent agenda item, let's see, 6A1 as presented and discussed.
Second. Motion is second for approval of accounts payable. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We have new business. Item 7A is discussion and consideration to approve resolution number 1870, designating the city manager as the city's chief fiscal officer for the purposes of submitting the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 annual expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General and request to waive section 2-4-10A prior to.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have Charlie Salazar present this since she worked on it.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Charlie. It's called leadership.
Mr. Mayor, resolution number 1870, a resolution of the City of Globe, Arizona, Mayor and Common Council designating the chief fiscal officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Yes.
This resolution presented tonight is a little catch-up that we're doing with the change of hands in our finance department. The expenditure limitation report that was submitted for 2022 with the retirement of our finance director was signed by our city manager. However, the designation was our finance director, so this just kind of lines those requirements up. And we do need to catch up for 2023 and designate the manager as our chief officer there. So we'll be back before July 31st for the 24 designation, but this tonight is just catch up and that housekeeping that we need to do.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, because we're doing catch up and they would like this sooner rather than later, we are asking to waive the rule on this particular item only.
Annual expenditure limitation has to do with our budget and how much we can.
Right, that we make sure that we're not spending past our legal cap that we have. There's a formula put in. It gets very complicated, but all cities have to do this. It's a formality. Many fast-growing cities sometimes have trouble getting that because they're pulling in so much development growth. We have never really bumped up against that, but it is part of the legal requirements of the city.
And those cities that are growing, then they have to go to that's a public vote, I guess, to raise the expenditure limit.
In some areas they can't even raise it. It's just is limited. I'm familiar with the city of Maricopa where they were pulling in so much money, but they have to actually go to get special dispensation from the state legislature to spend more than they're allowed to. Now there's various different. What's the one that we use? We don't have a permanent adjustment, but
No, there is a permanent.
in the 4 year one we do.
That's just home rule.
Okay, so we do that every 4 years where we do go to vote on that. So just make sure we're talking about the right thing.
So are we making you the permanent city chief financial officer, or are you just filling this spot?
I will. I will do this until we shake out everything in finance and we have a long-term permanent person take on the finance director responsibilities. But for now, just and it's each year we have to do it. So it's easy to, if we have somebody that is better suited to do that, we can do that. But for ease and clarity and consistency right now, I think it's best that we have myself perform that. But I do nothing without consulting with my team and talking to everyone to make sure that,
Making sure you're spending.
well, making sure I'm signing that everything's in line, and I'm not a financial expert. That we have staff for that.
That's why we have staff.
Yes.
Because they're the experts.
Yes, exactly. The goal is to hire experts and then listen to them.
Okay, good. So, Mr. Mayor, if there's no questions or concerns, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 1870, designating city manager Paul Jepson as the city's chief financial officer for FY 2022 and 2023 for the purpose to submit the annual expenditure limitation reports to the Arizona Auditor General and request to waive the prior discussion.
Second. Motion and second for approval of item 7A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passes. Item 7B, new business. Consideration to approve the fire department grant submission number GS-24-56-05001 to the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety in the amount of $16,928 for the purchase of 4 rugged 2-in-1 laptops for patient documentation. If awarded, will return to council for acceptance. And we have Chief Bejarano.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. It's the opportunity to discuss the grant proposal for submission for the purchase of 4 computers to the fire department's electronic care report system. We are currently, the city of Globe has entered into an agreement, a lease agreement currently with the vendor to upgrade the system that we currently have. The platform that had changed on us requires new computer equipment, and this would make electronic reporting a more simple system to be able to document patients as we are required for electronic electronic record keeping, and then to keep on file for a number of years. The City of Globe Fire Department was put in a position where that system had to be changed, and with that, these computers would actually make that change in that computer equipment possible with that vendor change. We deliver a high level of care to the EMS community, and to be able to do that, we must focus on our electronic record keeping system. And this again would allow us to purchase those 4 systems and put them into use with others that we're looking to currently release with the vendor. With Europe, we would like to submit to the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety the grant in the amount of the $16,928.
Questions or comments?
Couple questions, sir.
Go ahead, Mike.
Your sister fire department will be using these computers as well, or do they have to upgrade on their own?
They're in the same position as we are with the City of Globe, so Tri-City Fire District is also going to need to change their current platform in the reporting system. What they have is as well as what we have are tablets. And with that, we have the ability to do some limited electronic reporting in the field, and it's required, of course, for documentation. It can be challenging without the use of a keyboard. The rugged 2-in-1 computers have the computer accessibility with the keyboard integrated, and they're far more rugged for firefighter use. Unfortunately, tablets are not as user-friendly and can suffer some destruction with just simple day-to-day use. But our sister department over the hill is also in the same position, and I'm not sure if they're looking to purchase. They're also in the same spot right now where they do have tablets. They may need to look at increasing their equipment up to the rugged top boats with keyboards.
And so the second question I have is, will they be able to go also to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety and apply for the grant?
I'm not aware they do have that ability. I would not have that information if they also, I believe that they would as an agency through their fire district might be able to do that. Obviously, as they are the CON holder, they're in the capability of, in a position to be able to purchase some of those outright, having the ambulance company in a for-profit system.
Please keep us posted on their progress in procuring those. I don't know what we can do to support them, but obviously this is an upgrade that's vital in service to the entire region. So just please keep us posted. If we could support that through a letter to the governor's office, I'm sure we would think about it honestly, because this is vital to the region. In a fiscal melee that we have with our legislature, they want to cut funds from us. This is one of those examples that we need to point out to the legislature. This is why we need funding out in the rural communities, in the rural areas. And I'll say just one more thing, Mr. Mayor. The average consumer, the tourist who ends up somewhere in Arizona in an auto accident, you bet they expect the same high level of service anywhere. So that's why I want to push for this very, very much so.
Thank you, sir. We have a good relationship with Tri-City Fire Department and Chief and their organization. We'll be happy to meet with them to see about that capability and see what their expectations are going forward. One of the added benefits to this system is technology is advanced, and with that, we have the ability to actually take the information from our cardiac monitors and then integrate it into this new system where all the vitals, the EKGs, the cardiac rhythms that we have to produce, then can be transmitted electronically to Cobra Valley Emergency Department, and they can actually see the vital signs and the EKG strips on cardiac patients and be able to be ready for these folks in the event, say a heart attack or some other medical emergency. They'll know what kind of patient they have coming in just with the technology of being able to take the information from those monitors and put it in these new computers.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
A couple of questions. This is no match grant.
That is correct, sir.
And is there any reason that we need to wait for those to, is this due here pretty quick, or is it?
I'm not sure of the
So,
submission.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if we receive this grant, we will, if we are awarded, we will come back and accept the reward. So there's no reason to waive the rule because this will not be the last time this will have to come to council.
And I think we have to, with the governor's grants, we have to pass some kind of ordinance or something to go along with it, not ordinance or
Just a resolution, maybe.
a resolution.
They're just, Mr. Mayor, I apologize, they're just requiring a letter.
A letter.
With this
Okay.
grant.
But if we are successful, this is the first fit. This is the request to apply, and then when we receive them, we will happily come back to council and announce that we were successful.
Mr. Mayor, if there are no other comments or questions, I motion to approve the fire department's grant submission GS-24-56-05001 to the governor's office of highway safety in the amount of $16,928 to be used for the purchase of rugged 2-in-1 rugged laptops for patient documentation.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 7. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 8 is action item. We have discussion and consideration to approve mural of Arizona Trail Cottonwood Underpass Project muralist collaboration of iHeart Globe organization donation to the city of Globe. And we have Thea Wilshire and Regina Ortega. And
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to ask Thea and Regina to do their presentation, and then I'll go through detail as to what we're asking council to approve. And there's, I think, some issues or not items we'd like to talk about. So, but
Mayor, council members. I'm Regina Ortega. This is Thea Welshar. We represent ARCLO. ARCLO is an arts initiative, public arts initiative that works under the honor of the Cooler Valley Center for the Arts. We are very excited to partner with the city in supporting the Cottonwood Underpass project. The intention of this iArtGlo donation is to cover the area under and around the Cottonwood overpass. We know graffiti is a problem in that particular area. This area is a regular target for matters, and strategically placed art not only helps with beautification of the space, but raises the area's profile and reduces the day-to-day taggers who will seek out clean slates to make their mark. Our goal is to promote artistic expression, community engagement, and crime prevention in this space. The primary part of this project involves the creation of 10 murals over the course of 5 days, utilizing the talents of 5 locally sourced artists. Oh wait, one of our artists is here. Erica Raymond, you want to raise your hand? She's actually one of a 5-member team of local artists that are our creative design team. Now, in order to make this project work, you can imagine working with 5 artists and obviously with a major municipality, the City of Globe. It's going to take a lot of preparation and planning. So with that in mind, the comprehensive packet that we provided you hopefully gives you it just outlines the project, the key players, the designs, and our timeline. These are all components that we partner with you, then that will help us execute on this project and complete this large-scale art window for the community. He and I are here tonight to address any questions. We are hoping to get your approval of this very ambitious and valuable community project. We want to get it passed.
And
so for questions, and Paul, you want to give some?
Yeah. So Mr. Mayor, what we're asking you to approve is the donation agreement, and so it's the city owns the abutment and the infrastructure here, so it's your property. So anybody doing murals needs to have the permission of the property owner. You also have samples of the artwork, and then we have the donation agreement, and which was we've been moving pretty quick on this, but the handout that we gave you tonight was after the initial meeting with staff as to our requirements to participate in this and allow this road closure for 8 days, and the technical ability to produce these murals. And so I don't know if you have questions for the donating parties, or if you have questions for staff as to our requirements. But it is part of the donation agreement, so it is on the table for discussion, and we can talk about the requirements that we have placed in there to accept this donation.
Mayor, several comments. I hope I don't take too long. We're dealing with an entity that has been very successful in the last 2 years in implementing these projects, and you have a statewide, if not nationwide, reputation now. It's been very much a learning experience for the city. Watching you go through all of this, you're a fine example of a private organization trying to do the best they can. And I really compliment you on that. I don't have concerns. I just read the risk report. John, you're the man out there. Do you have any concerns going into this? Yes, you do need to come.
Yeah.
I guess also a reminder that council is just approving the concept and the mural. It's a special events team, the staff that deals with the special events application. Well,
and it is right, and that will come through. That'll be an administrative process. But because of the form and the requirements of that we have in there, we have a category called safety concerns, liability, or negative impact, which I have listed here, and this is part of the agenda item. So we can have this discussion at this point. Although I will tell you that our special event, most of our special events don't have a donation agreement tied to it that goes before council. And so I had concerns earlier, but I have no concerns now about having the discussion as related to the sheet.
Did IR get a copy of this?
Yes, right before the meeting. Yeah, they took a picture.
I have.
Okay, and I can,
We get them.
yeah. Yeah, I just.
Now you need.
Mayor and council, just in response to Councilman Gonzalez, one of the things that, as you know, a public works director and as safety compliance officer for the city, one of the things we always analyze is traffic safety. So that's actually not an issue here. It's actually with the applicants and, in that process. The only thing that was indicated that once you start getting the artist up on a lift, that's where I had some safety concerns. We may indicate and actually reflect on any OSHA standard. It's not too complicated, but the biggest thing is usually when you rent the equipment, you make sure you have the lanyards and the safety belts and the harnesses that accommodate that equipment. At this point, I don't know what equipment they're going to utilize, whether it be scissor lift or man lift. I'm thinking of man lift because it's going to have to overreach over both sides. That would probably be the safest, but that's not my decision. But my only really biggest concern would be ladder safety, because I know not all the artists will be on a man lift, and once actually the road will be closed, so that will be secure. The hours is specified. That's something I had asked for, so we can have it set up and taken down appropriately and not have it removed before the traffic is actually out of the road. But those would be my two first things. Is that we actually look at the schedule and make sure that once that equipment is rented, those things actually are supplied, and not multiple uses, because they do have weight limits. So you have to look at that, what the artists are doing, and I think once they get all their artists on board, I think they probably come back and get with us and say, hey, this is what our schedule, and we know that it may change, since tomorrow's supposed to rain, so some of the schedule will change, but the overall safety part of it would be the lift and the ladder safety. Having those areas, some really rough terrain on the sides. Staff actually already started cutting brush today on the trees on the sides and clearing that. So we're in support of this event. We just want to make sure everybody's safe.
Theo Regina, can you respond to his concerns about safety on the lift or OSHA requirements?
So we are going to have a boom lift there, which will help safely direct the artists to the higher areas. As far as like ladders and scaffolding, we have a health and safety manual that we will have on site that we will just make sure, I guess for contracted workers versus employees, the OSHA standards differ, but we're treating them, Iron Globe is approaching this project like they are employees and following the basic standards. So height and weight restrictions with the particular ladders and or the scaffolding will be addressed with the artists. We will have our safety manual on site. We will be going over and through the protocols with the artists every day, kind of like a safety brief. We plan to also, we provided for you all a calendar. Kind of forgot to add the lift will be delivered on Friday, and we also have just information about we'll have a safety meeting with the artists every Wednesday and an admin meeting on Monday, but also just regular daily contact with the folks on site. D&I will be also there to just inspect. The safety is of our utmost priority for the artists, and we really do just want them to be able to design and create in that safe environment. And we do appreciate the cooperation from the City of Globe, John's department. We did have that safety walk and briefing and looked for targeted areas that would be some concern. And they are, already being proactive in that, and we appreciate that. I hope that answered your question.
So this also OSHA requirements, OSHA requirements to advance and how hard that, I guess it would be that's part of OSHA. Is that what you guys will supply also with them? I don't know if that's, if we're
I
treating
don't
them.
really know the hard hat standards and equipment. We didn't look through that. It was mostly the ladder and scaffolding and the lift. So I can research that. And more than anything, I think, as Mariano suggested, it's like we're continuing to learn with each project how to make each one better, safer for our artists. And so we'll just continue to kind of build up our safety manual, and we may require Erica to put on well, I think she'd be okay with that.
You also see on the list that they stated they require $1 million certificate of insurance.
Right.
Do we have a?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd love to address that. We are not requiring the certificate of insurance for this special event project because we think they're going to be unsafe. We have total confidence that they will be safe. They will use safe practices, follow OSHA. But this is a project over 8 days on a public road that is closed down using equipment, heavy equipment, scaffolding, ladders, with a variety of people. We have traditionally and in practice, any events that take place, and there will be, and I don't quite understand it, but you do have like pop-up day where you're going to have like a street fest in the work area. Yeah, right. And so, yeah, so there will be third-party people in there, and so traditionally when we have activities going on in city streets or city closures, we ask for and receive a $1 million certificate of insurance. Some of the events I just took a quick survey, asked Ginger to help me out with. Apache G, of course, Arizona Poppy Fest, the pop-up vendor, the bicycle pedal cars, casino night, even in our which is an inside event, and of course Brown Amusement, which is over when they do so 1 million is pretty much our standard. I asked describe this project with our attorney Bill Sims and whether a waiver would work, and we also asked our risk pool, who is it, Ed Bantel, about this, and he does not believe, neither of them believe in a waiver when someone just promises on paper they will not sue, but if something happens and they're injured, that they're not going to go after everyone involved. And so these are paid employees. These are not just volunteers. These are people who are making a living by contracting with the two groups. And I don't understand the relationship between the Cottonwood Underpass project and iArt Globe. Is it the same people or is it a different group?
Same thing.
Okay. And so, so it's nothing that this is, we believe that this is unsafe. We do believe it is challenging, and safety will be a challenge, but we believe they can meet those needs. But still, given everything that's going on, giving due diligence to protect the interests of the city and the rash of items we've seen before, we think that staff recommends we stay consistent and ask for the $1 million certificate of insurance. But we weren't able to do the research. There's a TULIP program, which is sponsored by the risk pool for these such items where they can get a $1 million policy discounted. And we believe it's in the $200 to $300 range, but we weren't able to nail that cost down. So there's $11 million, sorry, I'm talking like, there's $11,000 in this project. I think that, asking that 2 to 3% of that in order to keep everybody safe. And I think it would protect you also, that if something were to happen, everybody has the greatest intentions, but when people get hurt, they go after pretty much everybody. So that's why the city is recommending. Now, this is council's call. If you want to waive that or release that or not require these to do that, it will just be on the city, and we'll live with the results.
Very good. Yeah, I agree that the work that you have been doing is just absolutely phenomenal, and it's impressive, and it's making headlines, and it's promoting our city. And I applaud you and your group for all of that. I remember when you first came to us with a vision, and now that vision has become real and something that's tangible that we can see, and a lot of good comments come from it. My concern is that when we start lifting people up off of their feet, the risk level rises as well. Right? And so I just feel like we need to really be aware of those potential hazards. Putting somebody on with, they've got to have, so if they do trip, they don't fall. They may dangle, they won't fall. Right? So, I think that two things, Mr. Angulo, probably is going to be a good avenue to help you navigate through those components that require safety mechanisms and for everybody, bystanders, for the artists themselves. But I do think also that adding Globe, the city of Globe as an additional insured in some capacity is probably, that would be where I would make my recommendation, is that the city has some assurances as well. And we want to support and help what we can, but we've got to be careful about sticking our neck out there, right? So I think the insurance policies are probably, because you're picking people off the ground, I think that should really be considered and looked at seriously. So whatever things that we might do to help, I'm on board with. But I just, the whole safety factor really has to be looked through a microscope.
One of the concerns that I might have on this project is the traffic is going to be traveling across the top of that bridge while you folks are under the work. You got all the high school students that travel up and down that roadway during their lunchtime and everything, and people will be working under there. So, there is a possibility that somebody will throw something down there and injure somebody, and I would hope our kids and our traffic don't create that problem, but there's always that possibility. So I think it's important that we stick with the insurance. It's a good project. I think it's going to be really nice. It's going to be 8 consecutive days. So the road-
Three and 5. 3 on the cleanup and then 5 on the painting.
Okay, but the road will be, access to the road will be closed for, even in the evenings and nighttime.
It's from sun up to sundown. So,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Good, Maria.
May I suggest that you designate one of your committee members on a daily basis to be assigned a position of safety officer who has the power to shut down the operation if they see something unsafe, and full authority to shut down the operation at any moment in time. And that person has that authority, that would satisfy some of the risk involved. And the experience that fire and police have is there's always a safety officer on site. It may change day to day, but be sure that they're up on the requirements of the work of the day with full authority to shut it down if necessary. It's a fail-safe thing. They do have to be on their game and know the requirements on safety. But certainly, I think that would make the pool happier. That's my suggestion, sir. So I had the pleasure of speaking a little bit about strategies to deal with the insurance. But it's not an easy thing to solve. And the reason is because each time they contract with an artist, then the artist is really the one that is up on scaffolding with the paint, that kind of stuff. So it's not necessarily their crew. So that means each artist then has to acquire the insurance, because they can't buy insurance and then contract with someone who's making money to then cover them. It doesn't work that way. That artist would then have to have their own insurance. And so it starts to get really pricey really fast. We're not talking about $300. We're talking about $300, $400, $500 times 5, 6, 7. And all of a sudden we're adding quite a bit of cost to something that benefits the whole community. And so one thing that I would suggest, and I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't require them to have insurance, because being an insurance agent, I know that it doesn't matter what they say that, oh, we won't sue nobody, oh, we'll sign a waiver, and that waiver means absolutely nothing, because you're gonna end up having to pay attorneys to defend yourself. And so, but I would like us to at least consider that maybe it is for the benefit of the community, maybe we ought to think about, could we help at least with part of that, or donate something so that they can facilitate that, because they have limited number of resources through their grants that they've gotten, and then just to have it all go to insurance. And here I am, but if you, it's something I think we ought to consider.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Shipley, a couple things. The insurance that we're asking for is from the applicant. In the prior conversation just here tonight, they informed me that they're requiring their artists to purchase insurance, which is very good if you're a small business person or working freelance, that you have that insurance requirement. So I don't know about the stacking. I think that's just part of doing business is for anybody. But I know that we've had this discussion before. It was pre-pandemic, so I don't quite remember how it went. But our ability to pay for someone else's insurance pretty much makes it us anyway. And so we can I can run it through Bill again and find out how that was worded. But if we pay for the insurance, then we're really not insuring ourselves. We're just accepting liability.
Maybe we could donate to the mural.
As long as, well, I'm just going to, it's a creative solution. I'll stop.
Mike, I want to thank you guys too for this. I live on the event right now, every day. And I see the taggers out there in the flowers. I see them, I see what they're doing. Over anyway, that's been a nice. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing. It's going to be really fun to see that come to life. My question, Bill, what about the other mural, by the elevator? They had a death on this. The one right over here on Pine Street, Myron Star did that on the whole side of the building. Were they up on this?
Yeah, scaffolding.
Scaffolding. So it'd be along the same line with that. I mean, I think it's whatever we can do that helps.
And I believe so they used a scissor lift over on Blondie's building, and that was a deal between an artist and a property owner, and so and I don't believe that we were even consulted when they did. Well, no, because the building that the mural is by the courts, or by the old courthouse, that is someone who did not ask for any city help. So they had nothing. They were in that little area, and that again was a private artist with a private building owner who did that. It was right next to our building, but it didn't involve us or any type of city on that. Now, I do believe, John, sometimes we have to close the sidewalk, and we will do that if someone's got something going on above, so that nothing falls on them. But this is an event where we are closing a city street, and so it needs city resources. It's city property, and it's it has some risk to it. Even though I do believe that all of those artists, however many are working on that, will be very careful and take the precaution. I did want to explain. While we're not going to monitor this, we're going to pass this off and let them do it. If we just happen to go by and see something that we think is unsafe, somebody had talked about dangling over the bridge to do some touch up or something, I don't know. I will tell you that we will stop and say something. Okay, if they're doing crazy shimming of the it was not a scissor lift, but we did see that on another project where they were running the scissor lift up onto some shims to level it that was dicey. I think that if we see something, we have an obligation to point that out. And we're not talking about shutting it down unless they refuse. We're just like, hey, let's figure out a better way to do this. And we have a lot of brain power and a lot of creative ways that we've done this. If there's just a question that someone doesn't understand how to lock in a scaffolding on a slope and shim that up, we'd be happy to be those technical advisors to make, because for the better interest of that. But I did want to put in here that while we're not going to be monitoring it, if we see something, we will say something. The other one that we put in here, I was trying to think, if we will be in charge of the PSAs, we want to make sure they get out, but we would like 3-day heads up if say it goes on further, we think it's going to go longer, just so we're not caught with people, flat-footed about the closure. If it goes, it shifts because of rain or anything like that. And that's just a communication thing. I think that's pretty easygoing. Let's see. And, the money. What we are doing now is special event requests is we are documenting for our record the time that we spend doing that, not to bill anybody, but just so when we go to budget season, we can see how much of our payroll is put into the category of assisting special event people, because it takes time, sometimes overtime. This is at regular, $25 an hour is what we're billing out at this for our people to do that. And it's only just as a marker so that we can audit the year's worth of special event and kind of get a handle on what special events is pulling from the budget that would have been, time that would have been spent doing something else. It's an internal tracking. So don't be offended by it, or not offended, but don't be, think anything more of that. But it does represent time that John's crew will have to spend.
I got a couple of comments and questions. The question to Stephen and Regina, you're not requiring the artist to have their own insurance, just a waiver is what you're saying.
We're requiring they sign the waiver, and on the waiver, they're certifying they have insurance.
That they have insurance. My opinion is I support local art, but I also support our special events team also, because they're the ones that dig deep into these types of applications and really are looking out for the city bottom line. And I appreciate that work, because, it kind of brings us back to a balance somewhere, because, they're digging in deep to it. I'm part of the risk pool, the state risk pool that represents many cities across Arizona. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people that sue for the craziest things. They do. And just because they said they're not going to sue you, they could sue you. I'll give you an example of an event that was taking place. Somebody on a city employee asked just a bystander to help him move some signs around. And so he sat on the back of a golf cart, fell off the golf cart, and sued the city for millions of dollars. Okay, so that's just an example of what could happen. So I think we really need to look into it and make sure that that the city is held harmless. And I think the only difference, I'm trying to compare what we did with all the stairs in the art, is that they were on. Here we're talking about people lifting and getting off the ground. And I guess, I don't know if the artists have any background or history of operating a lift or anything, something. I mean, it's not something easy to do, or it's not something that you just try to do. You could make I'm kind of mixed with it. I'm with the rest of the council. If we could somehow support it some way, but still keep you guys harmless too, like our own. So I don't know what, we're here to approve the concept and approve the art. But I think we have some resolves to make with it, especially events.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, the only other issues we have is that this activity, this closure, conflicts with the April 22nd car run, and I guess on April 22nd they're having a paranormal conference at the train depot, and so there just be a lot of traffic in the area, but we think those are manageable. And I want to inform you of those, that we have concerns, but we think those are manageable. And so if council chooses to approve this donation agreement as presented, then we will go back and can have our second follow-up meeting with the applicants. There's some other issues we want to see, and I can go over just for especially what do you call that January 22nd event, the pop-up day?
We're calling it a mural jam.
Mural, okay. And that's going to be an event, getting members of the public, food trucks, and different activities and things like that, which that's exciting too. We'll make that part of this application in total, if that's okay with you. And so we will, depending on how council votes, if you approve it this way, we're good to go. We'll go back and follow the process. There is an appeal process to the special event requests and requirements. And you, as applicants, you do have the ability to ask for council to revisit anything additional or that we put in there. So you have that option. And also we will follow up as soon as we can with the exact costs of the TULIP program for that coverage, so we can get you a price and the paperwork if you choose to go that route. But I think that would cover all the details for what we need to accomplish tonight.
And I know our staff is very busy, but I know that there's a timeline on this because I think you guys want it ready for the
Poppy Fest.
Poppy Fest, so I don't know how fast we can move on it.
Well, we're moving fast. I mean, we just got the application yesterday morning, and we met today, and we will meet before the end of the week and finalize this as long as we get the proof of insurance. I think that'll be once we have that in hand, then we can approve the project. What was your? I have the calendar, but I don't have it in front of me. What is your first date to the cleanup?
19th
of March
April.
or April. What's that?
Which one are you saying? I'm sorry, for cleanup?
Yeah, with the first day of the closure. I know there are 8 days, but I'm trying to remember yeah. And if you want to move these forward, we're happy to adjust the dates. We're, like I say, predominantly the work is upon your group of volunteers.
And I think the biggest holdup is probably going to be the insurance.
Yeah.
That we're talking about. I don't know. I think it sounds like, we want to support both. We need to support our city. We need to support the art also. So whatever ideas we can come up with to make it happen, if we can make it happen.
If I could get information about that TULIP insurance.
Yes.
That would be great.
Yes.
I do also have some meetings and conversations with other similar, I'm thinking, agencies tomorrow. So we're working to just kind of keep this momentum going. And it is something that we can put into our budget, the type of insurance if it is, as you're asking.
And just from my experience, because I did contract with IR for one of the bureaus downtown, I did sign that I had insurance. I did sign that I signed a waiver of it in Marvelous. And I know our risk pool doesn't want it, but that was part of my contract to do one of the bureaus also, was to make sure I had insurance. And not the I signed it, but the building signed.
Okay. And that, in this case, it would be a city. Yeah.
So, Mayor, I'd like to ask my fellow council, is that, for now, we see the insurance specialist, but just signing something that says you have insurance, or is there documentation that needs to follow up and actually prove, like a certificate of?
It depends on the organization that you're trying to provide a service for. Some will take your word for it, but there are others that ask for a certificate of insurance that basically attests that you do have it in force and that it will be on. So like, for example, if you're going to do a wedding and you're going to use a venue, someone will make you have a certificate of insurance showing that you have it for that venue for those days. And then if, like Freddie had mentioned earlier, an additional insured, what that does, whenever you list someone as an additional insured, you now are requiring that insurance company to also protect that entity or that person listed as an additional insured. And so what that does is, especially if they're going to be working on city property, regardless of what happens and who caused it, the odds of us being on a lawsuit is very good. And so by them listing us as an additional insured, that insurance company is required to as well defend us.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just on the logistics of this, we could possibly have if we can meet with the applicants on possibly Thursday, and get all the paperwork lined up, and then just with the only stipulation that upon delivery of a document showing the purchase of insurance, then we will issue the special event permit, and that's just the transaction of you give us the cert, and then we will give you the permit, and that gives you some time so we can get all and make sure there's no other outstanding issues or anything like that. We don't see them now, but until we sit down and kind of walk through it. So I'd like to, while we're talking about this, sooner than later, get the special event permit lined up, and then when you're ready to receive the permit, we'll just take the insurance. We move fast.
Councilman Gonzalez was correct that our little town has been featured nationally for the work we're doing in alternative transportation, Arizona, public art. But even this last weekend, I hope you all caught the Arizona Republic article and how many visitors we've had yesterday and today because of that. We were contacted today for maps and other things, just kind of frantically because there's so many people coming in. So you partnered with us on this from the beginning. And I want to just give you praise that you have the vision for this because it is paying tremendous dividends. I also wanted that's kind of a macro scale value. We are focusing on having local artists from our region. And we have been able to launch people who had never been paid for their work. And they're now being paid for art all over. Myron, who did this mural, his first paid work, is now doing a massive wall for a mural. So we are launching careers and showing people that art is a viable profession. We are working right now with a very young college student on our Gila monsters, which you're starting to see. And those are awesome. We're trying to work with kids to help us make a coloring book that will go along with that, but even have a kid be a co-author on that so they can see their name in print, potentially get royalties. I mean, we're working to launch as many artists as we can in our community. And you have a role in that. So I want you to see that, as busy as you are, that there's all this trickle-down benefit that is coming to us.
Absolutely. And that's a correct statement because truly we're supporting a lot of other projects that are bringing revenue indirectly back to us by visitors. We are by tourism, so we are benefiting from many projects. So that's something we need to keep in mind too.
Oh yeah.
We've supported many projects that bring revenue, bring people to our community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is one of the many items that where the City of Globe and City Globe Council has embraced these ideas and these trends, and it has paid dividends, and it's beautiful stuff, and it's multiplying, it's leveraging, and so the value is immense, and we do recognize that. Our position as staff is to make sure that we protect our liabilities and the city. So.
Thank you. Thank you, staff, also for working on this.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Is this, if we make the motion or we'll go through the motion process now, do we have to wait for the work on insurances and all that?
No. This is accepting the donation agreement, which includes a listing of what we're going to ask of that group as part of the special event permit. Special event permit is an administrative function that we will do, but you just because of the overlap of these two items, because we're the property owner, we're getting feedback. But I would ask that you approve, and we don't have to waive the rule because they've been here before. This is not their first visit on these art projects, and so if you accept this as presented, then we will follow through with the same requirements listed here in the donation agreement, itemized into the special event agreement, and go from there. Okay.
So it's just the concept and the art, and if there isn't an agreement, I guess, reached between IART and the city, then they can appeal it back to the council.
Right. If there's, and let's say something else pops up that, and they have to, there is an appeals process.
So, Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I would recommend that we approve the murals of Starizona Trail Cottonwood Underpass Project, muralist collaboration of IART Globe organization donation, and move forward to the special events committee for approval.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item 8A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposing, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Item B, consideration to approve contract number CS-2023-0051 with Rodriguez Construction Incorporated for the library outdoors space renovation project in the amount of $44,760 to be funded from account number 20-80-09-044 SGIAC grant. Rayal and Eric.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am super excited to be quietly presenting on this. It's been a long time. We came before you in January of 2022. Excited that we had received a matching grant from the state to start this project to make the library a better place for our community where people could meet outside in a larger area and still have a safe surface to walk on and be safe from traffic possibilities because we have people zoom in and not even that very much. Why the library gets a lot of traffic. And so now through months and months and months, we have finally gotten a contract with and I forgot his name now. It's Arturo. It's Rodriguez, yeah, Arturo Rodriguez, to do the work on the outside of the fenced-in area, which will be expanded. And they will work them.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, I sit on the library committee for the council. This has been a project for a lot of the friends and the ladies, and we're real concerned that we weren't going to see this project come to fruition, but it has come. I think it'll be a major improvement to the library area. We should probably here in next year's budget, but this is a start to clean that area up because it's uneven. It's, you know, they have the kids out there in the summertime and it's, the ground is just rough ground and it's pretty uneven and stuff. So just seeing that pad's gonna make a 100% improvement to that activity area for the library.
It will also make it more viable for people with mobility issues, people with walkers, canes, people in wheelchairs, or just stability issues. Right now, the ground is very uneven in that area.
Rayal, was this a rendering that we saw many, I don't know, months, years ago?
It was like September 2021 when you saw the original rendering.
So that's what you're going with. So it includes everything but the TV though. You're not doing
There's
anything.
nothing with the TP in this. This is just the fenced-in area, and it doesn't include any sort of shade awning at this point because we found that just the cement work and moving the fence and the guttering and stuff was going to eat up most of the funds that we were awarded.
Can you tell
Cost
me
of everything has just escalated.
what of that 44,000, what is grant amount and what is city amount?
So the grant is 21,400, and then the city is the remainder, which is, well, that was for the 46 floor, so
23,000.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, because this did appear prior, it does not need to have the rule waived. And I will tell you that Rayal learned a lot about dealing with contractors, getting quotes, supply chain issues. cubic
I
yards.
learned a lot about procurement through this process.
Yeah.
I like checking out books. Okay, no further questions or concerns, I would, make a motion that we approve contract number CS 2023 0051 with Rodriguez Construction Inc. for the library, outdoor space renovation project in the amount of $44,760 to be funded from account number -80-09044 SGIAC Green.
Second. Motion and second for approval of item 8B. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Item C, consideration to approve the purchase of first extrication equipment for municipal emergency services, MES, in the amount of $35,497.27 to come from account number 10-56-520005 fire CIP equipment initially discussed and funded, approved as part of the CIP budget adoption of July 19, 2022. Chief Verano.
Mayor and Council, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to return. Now, we have you consider the purchase and approval of replacing the current education equipment with Glow Fire Department. The current set of tools that the fire department possess are electronic tools, battery operated, or e-tools, are coming up on 10 years of age. These were purchased through also the grant through the Arizona Highway Users, and we purchased a demo. The demo equipment allowed us the opportunity to at least budget to be able to afford put those tools in service, but it did lack one of the components of the tools, and that is called the RAM. The RAM just gives us a bigger spreading capability in the event that we need to pull a victim out of the motor vehicle accident. That with the ability to replace the current equipment gives us a better time frame in being able to extricate these victims in these motor vehicle accidents. Councilman Rios, you alluded to that just earlier. We were in the process of deploying these extrication tools just today, and we were able to force the door manually to remove a victim from the accident. Chief, and now Mayor Gameros knows all too well how critical it is to be able to access and then remove these victims from the motor vehicle in the event of an accident to meet early treatment and have them sent to a definitive level of care. The tools that we had the opportunity to demonstrate and actually have our firefighters put hands on was through Hearst. We looked at, I believe, at 3 or 4 different sets of manufacturer tools, and Hearst, by far and away, we felt came up with the best opportunity in acquiring what we think is a very top-rated set of tools. The electronics on it, the battery systems, and of course the tools themselves, ease of use. They were flawless, and we also realize unfortunately, the use of having to put these tools into service because of the corridor coming into the Glow Miami area, as you know, is heavily saturated with a lot of traffic. And unfortunately, we've had to put these tools to use more than we've ever had to in the years past that I can remember. I'm a 30-year paramedic, 30 years, and I can't remember the last time that we had to put these tools to use more than before. This again would improve the outcomes of these patients, but we're at a position of needing to replace the current set of tools because of the failing battery systems on those now, and the difficulty in replacing and finding some of the batteries that operate the limited tools that we do have. So we are asking for your consideration to move forward with the CIP, approval of a CIP of distribution of the $35,497.27 for the purchase of the Hearst And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, I'd like to just make a comment. I've always been a staunch supporter of our first responders, public works, and just creating a better quality of life for our citizens. And although we have not just our citizens living here, but we have, I think, the other day I heard one of our staff say over or right about 2 million travelers a year come to our which translates to 30-some thousand per day. Do the math. If $35,000 on a piece of equipment saves one person, then it's all worth it, in my opinion. It's a very, very nominal price to pay to save somebody. You can't put a price on it. It's precious. I just think that, and I'm fairly certain that my colleagues feel the same way about providing the best service we can to our citizens. And I just want to make that, $35,000 to save one person's life. It's a drop in the bucket. And so that's really what I'm saying. It's a nominal price to save somebody's life. Thank you.
Chief, just a question, I'm sorry, is this gonna be additional equipment to what you currently have, or is this just another?
The intention is to keep the current equipment that we have in an alternative response vehicle that we have for being able to get out to further distances outside city limits that we've been allowed to respond to emergencies. That equipment will stay in service as long as possible, and there is actually no maintenance on that current system that we have in place, except to replace the batteries as needed. It gives us that alternative ability to have a secondary apparatus with the equipment. And much to Councilman Rios' statement about the equipment, and I should specify, it does consist of the RAM that gives again the bigger spreading capability, the spreader, which also are known as the jaws of life, and then the cutters. So these are 3 pieces for that price, and then a manifold or an accessory that goes with it, so that we can operate tools simultaneously in the event that is needed. So it is 4 pieces of large size equipment and amazing technology that we can do this now with battery operated instead of hydraulic tools that we've done in the past at a much higher rate of much higher expensive maintenance.
That's a comment I was gonna make, the battery operated extrication tool, but that wasn't in my career. But now it's much simpler, much easier to use than the old. You had a power unit, you had to start, you had oil everywhere, it was the hoses everywhere. These new systems are made with battery.
And the last thing you would hope to ever have to face is equipment failure during those emergencies. And that has been known to happen on hydraulic devices.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Chief, there's a lot of members of the Citizens Academy here in the audience tonight, and I bet they are also wondering, as I am, will this be delivered in time that you can do a demonstration on the fire department night?
I'm afraid not.
No.
We might be able to make some phone calls to see if we can at least have the.
Oh, get a demo,
demonstration
yeah.
equipment brought in. But again, we do have some of the current tools that we do have in place capable of being able to perform in the same manner. It would be a little bit more limited to what we're also trying to get with the RAM device. Again, it's just 2 pieces of that we have. We're just missing a very important third part.
Okay.
Well, we might be able to get the demo back up.
Yeah,
so that
I'm sure we
can do
could find a vehicle that you could tear apart. So.
We're still using
Yeah. No, not mine. No.
And I'm glad it was brought up about the vehicles. We see the types of vehicles that are out there, especially electronic or the Teslas and the e-vehicles. But it's unbelievable how easily these things can crumble and entrap a victim. And it's important for us to reach these victims sooner so that they have the best chance of survival.
Yeah, well, that accident I witnessed earlier today was really, it was super superficial damage on the vehicle. It just happened in front of me. I didn't see it, but I drove up on it. People were running to the scene as I drove up on it. So
unfortunately, that's why I stormed out of Mr. Jepson's.
Yes, we were. No, when the radio goes off and you guys leave, I'm okay with that. So.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. I see this is coming out of our capital improvement project fund, which is, in this day and age with our battling with the legislature, I'd love to send them a copy of this particular purchase, just to let them know what we're trying to do to improve the facilities and improvements in city budget and city operation. They need to be made aware of the loss of revenue that could impact future improvement projects.
No,
It may seem like a small amount of money, but to the city of Globe, it's substantial. And we are committed to that. So feel free to send them a copy.
well, and I will tell, speaking for both our House and Senate on the District 7, our representatives have been very supportive of cities, and our Senator Wendy Rogers voted against 1117 today also in favor of local support. And so that's tremendous. And so I would say that the rural representatives of District 7 are very in tune. It's a lot of those people from the great state of Maricopa. No offense.
That's the comment. I'm done, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Gonzalez, to your point, that is precisely what I'm glad you mentioned is we attempted grants through in purchasing the extrication equipment in years past. Unfortunately, the budget wasn't there and we're not successful in being able to procure that equipment. But we're at a point that we really need to replace what we currently have.
We're glad to help. Okay. Mayor, I would move to approve the purchase of that particular extrication equipment and $35,497.
Second. Motion second for approval of item 8C. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining?
Mr. Mayor and members, thank you.
Thank you. Item D, discussion and consideration of approved contract number CA-2023-0046 with Empire Caterpillar for the purchase of a 420 backhoe loader with cab in the amount of $174,437.85. Budgeted the amount in the account number 50-80-52000 water CIP equipment. Funding approved as part of the CIP budget adoption July 19, 2022. John?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Of course, I come to you asking for something now. One of the biggest things in December of 2021, we had a main water break out towards the fairgrounds area. And the crew was out there working. If you've ever been on that old water line, there's a high embankment. And we actually had a situation where I actually shut down the water and closed the crew down for that water service that night. So they wouldn't be working at nighttime, so I thought it was dangerous. Unfortunately, the following day that we did do the work, we had the incident where there was a backhoe on the cleanup and completion of the project, actually had a rollover. So fortunately, the employee was not, he was a little shaken up and bruised up, but the equipment did exactly what it's intended to do. The ROPS, protected the employee. But upon final inspection, we had Empire come up, do an analysis. So actually, they took it down there and they deemed it was basically a total loss. That was one of our newer backhoes at that time. It was really almost a year old. So it really, it hurt us in that manner. So since then, we've been working. If you remember, we actually did purchase a backhoe. We worked a contract and we're doing our mitigation. We had some BEMA funding available. We actually purchased a backhoe at that point. That's been the one backhoe that we've been counting on to do a lot of the water service. And this backhoe here, after the insurance payment, we're looking to replace finally, and going through this process. I can tell you, in the last 8 months, this price has increased $30,000 for the same backhoe. This would be giving us a backhoe to replace what we lost, getting us back in line where we were in line, and this would be funded also with payment and the CIP items, that we would be utilizing some of that funding. We're working with Empire. They've actually have a unit secured for us that could be delivered in June. We're awarded this contract. So they've been working with us really good. But like I said, it's actually elevated that much in 8 months.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, John, what becomes of the one that they cashed out, the one that was in his, Mr. Mayor, members of council, if you saw how far that backhoe rolled, you would understand why it is not safe to use it again. It did its job. But what will happen to that?
That backhoe, upon inspection, we actually did at that time, our fleet manager went out there and met with Empire. And they do analysis, they check the computer system, they check everything. Really, there was not that much, because a lot of times we would look at possibly salvaging it or repurchasing it for our use and fixing what was damaged. The wheels were damaged, the cylinders were damaged, the roller was damaged. I mean, everything, I mean, there wasn't really a tire to be saved. After you saw that and where he rolled off of, we were really fortunate that we didn't operate. You know, so that at that point, we're given the option to purchase it, but they really Empire told it, you know, so that's not really something we would want to bring back into our workforce as far as safety. It's just not being safe to operate anymore. And that was really their recommendation. That's actually why the payment was a little bit more than we actually expected at that point, because it doesn't take long. We know the depreciation of anything we buy these days, you know, but that's basically, it was just being told when it's complete loss. And that,
So is this 174, is that the total cost or is that the cost after the insurance is applied?
the total 174 is the total cost.
The total cost, okay.
Where was the insurance money that was used? Where was that used?
That's being used towards the purchase also of this.
So it's higher than
the total purchase price is 174. The payment that we received for after the total bit from the insurance was $95,496.
Which we banked, and now we're combining that with CIP money so the 174 is derived from both the payment from the insurance company and additional CIP funds
Yeah, there's 78,000 that we're utilizing, 78,941.56 from our CIP.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I would make a motion that we award contract number CS 2023 029 to ASR Construction Group in the amount of, oh wait. Wrong one. D, okay, sorry. Let me get rid of that. Make a motion to approve contract number CA 2023-0046 with Empire Caterpillar for the purchase of a 420 backhoe loader with cab in the amount of $174,437.85. Budgeted number 50-80-5200. Water CIP equipment funding approved as part of CIP budget adoption July 19th, 2022.
Second.
motion second for approve item 8D. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed nay, and abstaining. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Item E, discussion and consideration awarding contract number CS-2023 0029 to ASR Construction Group in the amount of $67,238.20 for the wastewater treatment plant oxidation ditch maintenance, which includes a 15% contingency to come from account number 51-80-52200 wastewater capital outlay construction bids.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Come to ask you to approve this contract with ASR. If you remember, in January or no, December, to advertise for this project. This is part of the warranty work that we did in the summer of 2020. Summer of 2020, we installed the new blowers and big service down the sewer plant for oxidation ditch. This is part of the warranty work. They're going to come in, empty the ditch, do some cleaning, inspecting the aerators, and just make sure everything's where it's supposed to be.
So Vince, is this something that we don't do in-house? So this is like some maintenance that's above what our maintenance people would normally do?
Well, this first go round is for the warranty. After that, we plan to have we're going to do this, and at that point we'll start doing.
Okay, so you have to get it like certified,
Yeah.
and then, okay.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused. We're talking warranty where this is a routine inspection, I take it? Or is something possible?
No, nothing caused this. This was just their recommendation from the factory, Xylem and JCH to keep their warranty on the product.
That's right. Because if I hear warranty work and we're paying for it, those two don't come together in my mind. So, so we're expensing this so that we can sustain a warranty.
Right.
Well, that's it. If there's no questions or comments, I motion to award contract number CS 2023-0029 to ASR Construction Group in the amount of $67,238.20, which includes a 15% contingency to come from account number 51-80-5220 water capital outlay construction.
Second. Motion second for approval of item 8E. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Thank you. We have late agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, no, we have no late agenda.
Second call to the public.
And
Anybody online or text?
Kelly is checking.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Scheduling a meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we just wanted to inform council and this does not take a vote, but just an expression that we are canceling the regularly scheduled March 28th meeting because we will be in, many of us will be still in DC, finishing up our trip, conference and lobbying trip. And we may organize a short special meeting. It's still in the works there, but we did want to formally cancel that meeting. And then the other, do we need a vote? Council meeting and notification. Yeah, so just public notification that meeting will be canceled. And then the other thing is just to, on scheduling meetings, so council know and the public know that tomorrow we are having our first ever joint HPAC council meeting together. I see the chairman in the audience of the HPAC to where we share ideas and kind of beliefs and just get to know each other and kind of pick each other's brain about how they approach historical preservation.
That 8:15?
Very early.
Here.
Very early.
And then we have a finance committee tomorrow.
Tomorrow at noon, we have the council's subgroup, just an informational meeting at noon. What's that?
Work group.
Work group, yes.
What is that?
The finance. Yeah.
We have the Holy Life Subcommittee and finance.
On the finance? Oh. Councilman Rios.
I'm filling in for Debbie.
Yeah, no,
No.
you accepted.
No, Councilman Shipley is filling in for Councilman Leatham, who's not available.
No, no.
Oh.
Welcome to being a senior citizen.
We will,
It's out of my calendar, so I have plans to be out of town tomorrow.
okay,
What time is the meeting?
At noon.
at noon, but okay,
Where?
let it, hang on.
Say this, which phone did I accept? Your third one.
Yeah.
It's not on my city phone. I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
Yeah, let's see, so I have, Councilman Leatham has accepted, Councilman Shipley, and Mayor Gamaris.
Oh, so I didn't get it.
Right.
Oh, so you're
Okay, so good.
You got three.
I believe you said that you were gonna be out of town.
Okay.
And so we-
Everything works.
Yes. So Councilman Shipley is substituting for you, Councilman Ramos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been replaced.
Jen will be here.
Yes.
Councilman Leatham will be here. I have a tracking system. on
Yes, thank you so
the-
much.
Yeah.
You should just
Teach me how to
keep my phone.
There. And we may be looking at having an infrastructure meeting next week at some point, but Shelley's gonna, once we get some optional time, we'll follow up.
And I'm on that one as well.
You're on that one too.
Yeah, you are.
So we will start with you. Actually, just hang out after the meeting, we'll talk.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you all for your ability to be at places at times to help us. It really helps staff to your availability at a drop of a hat. We thank you for that.
Okay, we're meeting here tomorrow,
8:15, yes.
Consideration of any future agenda items? Anybody have any? Call for motion for adjournment? Second. Motion second for adjournment.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, before you go, thank you. Anybody here from Citizens Academy, raise your hand.
Yeah.
There we go. Got a bunch. There you go. Okay. They didn't run out early. That's- So we're good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending.